Welcome back to the Jimmy Dore Show. Craig Pasta Jardula filling on in with Kurt Metzger in the house and JD hanging out in the studio. So obviously we've had a lot of breaking news that takes place, and the media should be covering left and right what happened with Devin Archer, right? He had a hearing. He was Hunter's ex-partner. He talked about the big guy, showed emails, the whole 9 yards. So the media is going to be out there in full force covering him, right? How about wrong? Devin Archer directly contradicted Biden and on his family's business dealings. The mainstream media ignored it. Total coverage in prime time on ABC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC. 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Total coverage on ABC, CBS, CNN, and NBC Sunday shows? None. So they're not talking about it whatsoever. There's a couple people who are trying to talk to it. They gave it to smart news guy Chuck Todd to try to give the spin. And you'll see the spin going on. But here's Fox News just reporting how much time was spent.
It's nearly goose eggs with the exception of MSNBC, 3 hours and 45 minutes. Then we want to figure out the Sunday show coverage of the Devin Archer transcript. And here it is, Dana. Goose eggs across the board. 0 minutes of coverage on CBS, ABC, NBC, or CNN.
Wow.
So we do have 3 minutes and 55 seconds of coverage, though, we can talk about. And I think we should analyze that right now because they're doing the same thing, right? All right. They're still providing cover, and it's the same lines. Oh, that's Hunter. He's got nothing to do with his father. Why are we going to persecute Joe for what Hunter says?
At the end of the day, Joe Biden's just a man, a great dad.
Just a great dad.
He is, who loves his son.
That's all it is. The guy's great.
But how do you really believe, how does anybody believe that Hunter was able to pull this stuff off without the big guy?
Well, no.
I believe Trump is evil and his son's worse.
Well, that's the other part they're doing. They're always still going Trump's
but
kids.
Trump,
but Trump. Let's take a look at this video. You're going to like this one.
Political director and the moderator, of course, of Meet the Press. Hey, Chuck, good morning.
Good morning, Hallie.
So listen, you have former President Trump, who is now facing down what could be his fourth indictment, one of a series of legal issues that he is looking at. You have, under a very different set of circumstances, obviously now, President Biden's son, Hunter, and this newly appointed special counsel overseeing the investigation into him. We're looking ahead, right? I mean, Vaughn's there in Iowa. The caucus is now just about 6 months away, not even. How much is this having an impact on voters, Chuck? What is your sense of how this actually plays out on the campaign trail?
Well, that's a question. I mean, I don't even know what the campaign trail looks like. I mean, former President Trump is going to be completely distracted by his courtroom issues and his legal dramas. He's going to have multiple. I mean, you start to look at the legal calendar and the primary calendar, and they're totally conflated. But you and I both know President Biden is going to be, at a minimum, very distracted by the Hunter and Biden investigation, and while they are nowhere near equal,
they're nowhere near equal. They're still the same lines. What Trump did and his sons, 1,000 times worse than what Hunter did with his dad.
Why where do they get that from? If there's a possible $20 million bribery scandal happening.
It's nowhere near equal because Hunter's is way worse.
Way worse.
Absolutely. But that's not how they're spinning it. They're still doing the same over here. And listen, I was in the hospital getting some stitches. And what do you think my doctor said to me? Like, oh, they want to talk about this Hunter thing. But Trump and his kids, you got to be kidding me. It's ridiculous what they did. This is
what did they do? Did he go on to explain what they did?
They in the Golan Heights, Trump and his hotels, they got patents. Ivanka and what's his name, Donnie Jr.
So why doesn't Biden investigating him? He's the head of the Justice Department. Also, if that happened, why wouldn't Biden investigate him, Craig?
I have no clue.
So that doesn't make any sense.
Is that an ally, by the way, he's doing business with? Not, our upcoming World War III opponent, China?
It is an ally that they were doing business with. And they're trying to say there's some bribery scheme. Now, what's his name?
So
Krispy
investigate
Kreme.
it. So investigate. So why shouldn't we? So when someone says something like that, well, Trump and his son, well, doesn't Biden's been in charge of the government now for 3 years? Why isn't he investigating that?
The nonsense that went nowhere that they've investigated the last 7 times.
So they investigated Russiagate for 6 years. It's a complete hoax, turns out, because if you read the Durham report or if you read the Mueller report, it's a complete hoax.
That's beyond my purview.
That's a complete hoax. And so...
Yeah. Well, I mean,
why wouldn't Joe Biden launch an investigation? He's in charge of the FBI. He's in charge of the Department of Justice. Why wouldn't Joe Biden launch an investigation in Donald Trump and his kid? If the Department of Justice is investigating his own kid while he's president, he wouldn't launch an investigation. Of course he would.
Because they don't need proof; they just need confirmation bias.
That's right.
Well, say this for Biden.
In sort of seriousness here, there I think going to become problems for voters. I think when you sit here with swing voters, there's an exhaustion. There's no doubt that I think Trump is a lot more exhaustion than that. But I'll tell you this, Allie, you already have. I have a Democrat on today, Dean Phillips, who's been one of the few Democrats putting his name on the hand-wringing over whether President Biden is up to a second term. He believes these Hunter Biden charges, this new special counsel, only reinforces the need to have a competitive Democratic primary. And I do think this will open the door for a more serious Democrat to think about running.
He hates to say it.
Are you kidding me?
It's just a lot of hand-wringing.
Are you?
They're just wringing their hands, about Biden as a Swiss cheese brain. With a crackhead son that's a little albatross around everyone's neck.
Yeah, a little kink in the armor over there.
But, I mean, they have a point.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is that somehow he's allowed to say that.
Yeah.
Like there's somehow a memo somewhere, something happened where Chuck Todd is allowed to say now that because they must be talking about this in a lot of editorial meetings and a lot of shit-lib circles. They're talking about replacing Joe Biden, and they're going to use the Hunter scandal to do it, aren't they?
You're hitting it right on the nose, because we have the Democratic representative who also comes in and starts, well, maybe we should start looking elsewhere. But I love this clip over here, because that was let's say the introductory to what Chuck Todd is setting up right over here to what Biden did wrong.
What very, very rich man or men has lost faith in Biden as their official puppet?
Well, this might be it, because it's not that he did anything wrong as far as Biden with the whole deal. It's that he handled it wrong. Remember we were talking the other day? Biden didn't handle COVID good enough. He didn't lock down people quick enough and whatnot. It was his handling of the situation. Same thing here from Chuck Todd. Listen.
President Biden's handling of the case has raised questions at a time when voters already have doubts.
It's his handling. He didn't handle it properly.
Handle it correctly.
Kurt, he didn't handle it right. How'd he handle it?
About his age and political standing. Biden brought his son to a state dinner just 2 days after the plea deal that has since collapsed was announced.
He just keeps screwing up this Joe Biden. He's dumb. He doesn't know that people will think he's doing nefarious stuff. He's just an innocent little Boy Scout. That's what that is.
He's handling this situation wrong.
That's too good of a father.
That's right.
And he has repeatedly defended him, denying wrongdoing altogether, even though Hunter Biden himself has pled guilty.
Wait, so did you, Chuck Todd? You also all these people repeatedly defended Hunter Biden.
Yes, and they're still what they're doing. They're now trying to pass the buck over to Hunter. They've been saying this for quite some time. A lot of people have been saying it. It's not Joe Biden, it's Hunter Biden. Why do we have to blame Joe Biden for what Hunter Biden did? But we all know, unless you're sniffing some glue out there, that Joe Biden was the person that all these people wanted to meet, these business people. They didn't go to Hunter because it was Hunter. Hunter even said in an email, they like me because of my last name. That's why they're doing business with me, because my last name is Biden, and Biden happens to be the vice president.
They all be a Democrat, but they all do that, except when Trump does it. I hate it the most.
I'm confident. First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him. I have faith in him.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you encourage him to take my plea? Thank you.
Look at that Gavin.
President Biden's handle.
Look at Gavin perched like a condor to pick at the carcass of this the second he gets a chance.
Now, to complete the 3 minutes and 45 seconds, we have this last clip over here, but you have to listen to this one because this is beautiful. Did you know that Joe Biden was brought back into the White House to restore some decency to our democracy?
Oh, no. Did he shower with his own daughter in the White House, or what happened?
Ooh.
Though, Brennan, you can't help but watch all this play out. And it's like Donald Trump has been trying to bring Biden's brand down to him. It goes back to 2018 when he sent Rudy Giuliani to Ukraine. He's been desperate, and he did it. Yeah. And it's Joe Biden's own attorney general that just announced the investigation.
Yeah, I mean, it's basic politics, trying to turn your opponent's strength into a weakness. And one of the things that I think Joe Biden was elected to do was to clear out the mess in the White House, bring ethics and decency back. And this is clearly an effort.
They say it with a straight face.
Yes, ethics and
Hold
decency.
on. He said that your strengths, such as your son Hunter Biden, into a weakness.
Yeah,
yes.
He's trying to say his strength that he's a decent person, and let's try to drag Joe Biden down to Trump's scum. Joe Biden's the biggest scumbag in America. He's been in politics for 50 years. He's an unbelievable racist. He's an unbelievable warmonger. He's an enemy of the people. He just crushed a worker strike. Yeah. He made it so students can't declare bankruptcy with their students. He's the worst guy in the world. He built those cages that Trump put those Hispanics in. Now he's saber rattling with it. He's for every war. He's for the Iraq war. Yep. He's the reason why our prisons are filled up. But somehow his brand is that he's decent. That's only because the media decided to pretend he was, because he was running against Trump. Before that, they all thought he was a piece of shit.
Aiding and abetting.
Decency back, and this is clearly an effort to do that. Now, I think the White House and the president's reelection need to take this a bit more seriously than what they're doing. It was very easy for a long time for Democrats to just say, well, that's stuff on the...
The problem is that again, it's how he's handling it. They're not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
They need to take it more seriously.
More censorship?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
There's nothing more to that one. That's all I want. Now, we were talking about...
Tracy Morgan looked great.
We were talking about we're going to have some Democratic congressmen come in and start planting the seed, the idea that we need to start looking elsewhere. Maybe Gavin the Hair Newsom, maybe Pete Buttigieg.
It's going to be Gavin the Hair Newsom, of course.
President Biden have realized.
So this is more Democrats are slowly turning on Joe Biden.
Yes.
That's what this segment is. Okay.
What? They stopped getting boosters and now they're turning on Joe Biden.
They stopped getting boosters.
Oh, for shame, Democrats.
Take a look.
What Hunter was doing here, getting on the phone, talking speakerphone with his business associates. Did he at the very least show a major lapse in judgment and a blind spot with his son and how he handled this?
Look, I think that same witness also made very clear that they never discussed business.
No, that's
that Hunter Biden was trying to promote an illusion of access to.
They're talking about Devin Archer.
Yeah.
That's just a lie.
It's a lie.
Look at this moron's face while the guy's telling him to lie. Yes, go on.
That's just a flat out lie. They're just okay. That's just like how they lied about ivermectin and Joe Rogan.
Yes,
and that's how they lie about Ukraine. Yeah,
his father for his own reasons. That's Hunter Biden. And you can make it whatever judgment you want to make about whether that was appropriate or not.
Shouldn't President Biden...
Isolated incident. It's Hunter Biden. Joe had nothing to do with it. The big guy has nothing there. I got our favorite Congressman, Barney Frank, over here trying to still do the same thing, provide cover for Hunter Biden. Excuse me, provide cover for Joe Biden by throwing Hunter under the bus. In other words, it was just Hunter. Joe had nothing to do with it.
Joining us now is former Democratic Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank, and also joining us is the spokeswoman for Make America Great Again, Inc., and also a Newsmax contributor, Caroline Levitt. It's great to have both of you. Barney, first of all, how bad does it look against President Biden, all this information that's been coming out, especially with the new bank records?
It looks bad in this sense. It shows that he was way too indulgent to his irresponsible son. He is guilty of that, of his son worrying about his drug habit. And as I said, his son behaved very badly, and Biden, as a father, wasn't tough enough on him. On the other hand, nothing has shown. You keep talking about the Biden family, and I realize you do that because you can't connect it to Joe Biden. And yeah, presidential families can do things that are problems, but there was still zero evidence that affects Joe Biden. And I was particularly struck, frankly, I think one of the people who should be trumpeting this is Ron DeSantis, because it underlines the incompetence of Donald Trump as an administrator. The U.S. attorney to whom you object was a Trump appointee.
Barney,
now we're going to have the Newsmax reporter respond in. I mean, we've been covering this case. How much evidence has been laid out to show that is a direct connection to what's been going on with the business deals and Joe Biden.
Why would 50 intelligence community people come out of the woodwork just to lie for something with no evidence?
Yeah.
That's right.
Here we go. Listen to this. This is great.
Always go there. Let me go to Caroline because I want to get a couple topics. We're kind of tight today. Caroline, go ahead and reply.
Barney, that is a vast underestimation and mischaracterization of what is happening here, and you know it. There are direct ties to Joe Biden. This is not just about Hunter. Joe Biden was I'll tell you right now, Barney, Joe Biden was the head of the Ukraine portfolio when he was vice president under Barack Obama. The Burisma executives told Hunter, we need this prosecutor who's investigating our corrupt company fired. Joe Biden fired the company, and then Hunter Biden received $80,000 a month from Burisma. Joe Biden's on tape bragging about the fact that he fired that prosecutor on behalf of the executives at Burisma. I'll give you another example. Joe Biden sat down for dinner at Cafe Milano with businessman from Moscow and the former mayor of Moscow's wife. And then what happened? $3.5 million was wired into the Biden family bank accounts. And here's another one for you, Barney.
Yeah, real quick, Caroline.
$42,000 from a Kazakhstan businessman, and then the next day wired it out of his account for a Porsche, and he put his father on speakerphone with that businessman. Joe Biden knew what he was doing with his son. It's a dereliction of duty. It's treasonous behavior, and Republicans should move forward with impeachment. And you know it's wrong, and every Democrat knows it's wrong too.
I think a sixth grader could have done that.
They impeached
like a
Trump.
Sixth grader.
They had an impeachment against Trump for saying, look into it.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Yes.
Well, this is Barney Frank, the guy that helped end his own regulation.
Yes. Dodd Frank.
Frank.
Yeah, Barney Frank is now just a corrupt piece of it. He's the worst of the worst. He's an enemy of the people, just like Joe Biden is, just like the entire political class is the enemy of the people, and people know it, which is why they have to keep us hating each other. That's why the corporate news reports every story in a way that makes you hate your neighbor and makes you think there's some kind of moron who lives next door to you who's going to screw you over somehow. And that's what this is about, because they know that the people are done with the political class. The political class is literally the enemy of the people they're supposed to be representing. That's not hyperbole.
Yeah. And we know because their number one goal is to keep people divided, keep them fighting with each other. People don't look for facts. They just look for confirmation bias, and they repeat it. That's why you have your friends, no matter what, will just be believing MSNBC because they want to believe that Trump is evil and they are on the side of good. It's a narcissistic trait.
Remember when Trump said the worst thing he's ever said? Even worse than good people on both sides. When he said, the mainstream news media is the enemy of the people.
Yes.
And they were how could you?
That's what dictators
we
say.
are frenemy. That's the right word.
Representative Dean Phillips calls on Democrats to challenge Biden in 2024 after special counsel is appointed. So Representative Dean Phillips from Minnesota Democratic reiterated his calls for President Joe Biden to be challenged in the Democratic primary for the 2024 presidential election after special counsel was appointed to investigate the president's son, Hunter. Phillips echoed his calls from over the weekend that most Democrats and independents are not satisfied with the current options in the Democratic presidential primary. He warned that the unpopularity of the current candidates could hurt Democrats' chances of maintaining the White House. His comments came while speaking on CNN's The Lead with Jake Tapper on Friday.
Jake Tapper.
So there's a kink in the armor. They're now going ahead. We've been waiting for them to make a move sooner or later to say, let's go get somebody else in to replace this guy. Now is the time, with 6 months out before Iowa happens, which is the first caucus. That's when they're going to make a move sooner or later. And I figured they would wait a little bit longer, so whoever they put in is shielded for quite some time, because no matter what, the Democrats are going to go with whoever they pick.
No,
I think it's Gavin Newsom.
Of course it is.
I think it's Gavin Newsom.
And by the way, that psychopath probably has the best shot. He's got a way better shot than Biden.
Well, he's got to be from a super populous state, right? So they got to get as many votes as they can. So that makes sense. But I definitely think it's going to be Gavin Newsom.
Yeah. People vote for him because he's handsome.
Just because his hair.
Straight up, they vote because he's handsome, and that's all it's going to take.
How many votes you think Jackson Hinkle got when he ran just off his hair? Probably half of them.
Jags might be the only hope because he's got the hair to withstand like your Piers
can.
Morgan was too rock hard to really be mad at him.
Yeah, and he will not be let back on Piers Morgan again.
Believe me, he will not be let.
No way.
No way. No way. Piers Morgan doesn't want any more Jackson Hinkle.
But they can meet for the weekend if Jackson's
I bet they will. Come see our live shows. We're going to be in Chicago, Rosemont, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Toronto, Toledo, Detroit, St. Louis, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.